All right, 6 o'clock, call the meeting to order. All members are present with the exception of Cheryl. Move on to additions. Everybody reviewed the additions. We'll cover that later on in the agenda. Move on to the approval of the agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Motion by Drew.
Second.
Seconded by Bruce. We have to do a roll call vote.
Bruce,
Aye.
Thomas,
Aye.
Rachel,
Aye.
Gerald,
Aye.
Jacob,
Aye.
and Ron.
Yep. Aye.
Okay. Motion passes. No public comment. Move on to consent agenda.
Cheryl contacted me this morning before she reviewed the bills. And the only thing that she wanted to call out is that it appears as though the FFA fruit fundraiser has been completed. I don't know if we mentioned that a little bit later, but those payments have been made. So other than that, there weren't any other bills that she wanted to call out. And as far as personnel items, this is the traditional time of year where we have our ECFE sessions, and then you'll see some movement in personnel. In addition, for the donations, I am going to pull this up and call this out because it really is impressive. Let me get to our January 28th tab, and I'm going to share that. Whoops, I'm going to share that with anybody that wants to watch because it really is. I think it's pretty powerful when you see how our community has gotten behind an initiative. There's just been a really concerted effort to build this early childhood playground, and so just an exciting set of donations in there. So just an acknowledgement and a thank you there. A reminder, the TEALS receipts, that's always a nice way to bring money back into the elementary. We have some box tops for education. The same, again, those are money for the elementary. And then you'll see some donations for Pop Packs. So I did want to just pause and acknowledge those donations because it really has been a nice circle behind and get people moving to make things happen. So we're grateful for that. Other than that, I would stand for any questions on the consent agenda.
Any? Okay. Looking for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Make a motion.
Motion by
Second.
Thomas, second by Gerald. Roll call vote.
Bruce,
Aye.
Thomas,
Aye.
Rachel,
Aye.
Gerald,
Aye.
Jacob,
Aye.
Ron.
Aye.
Motion passes. Move on to communication items.
So I don't have a lot for my administrative report today because I am going to walk through a few of these documents for you. So the revenues, the reason I want to just pause here is because this has been updated. When you look at December, you'll notice that we now have audited information. Okay, so that has been revised. And then two, I just wanted to call your attention, specifically Jacob. I know we had a conversation about this, but just as a reminder, if you're ever wondering what items are included in the revenues, if you click on the January 31st tab and you hover over, I'm going to cast this because I want people, if they want to look to see, it's, I think, helpful to kind of see where they pop up. So again, on the first tab, the July 31st tab, you'll see little comments on each of the lines. And so you'll see that when we're talking about revenue for state aid, you can see it's the per pupil aid, compensatory funding, concurrent enrollment, and special education. Okay, so I just want to remind people, if you ever wonder what revenues are there, you can take a look back at that first tab and you'll see what's included in each of those categories. So again, coming back to December 31st, you'll notice the biggest change has been the audited numbers. Other than that, I would stand for any questions on revenue before I just pull up the expenditures and show the same comments. Okay. And in the expenditures, again, we're going to see a similar, you're going to see a similar change. when we come over and click on the December 31st tab, you're gonna see audited expenditures as of the fiscal year end June 30th. And then you'll see again on the first tab, you'll see what's included for expenditures in each of those areas. So obviously salaries and wages, that's payment of hourly wage, salary, and then your employee benefits, your retirement account, public employee retirement account, insurance, 403B, FICA, LTD, and such. Okay, so you can take a look at that. There's nothing real specific to call out on the December 31st, except that it's been updated for our audited information, and there wasn't anything that really stood out of the ordinary. So those are the expenditures and revenues. Strategic plan touch base. Here's really what I want board members to start doing. So as we build the budget for next year, I anticipate building in some time and some resources to review and renew our strategic plan. So as you're taking a look, I just put in January 25th tab, just have some general commentary about kind of where things are at in progress or continuation, who's taking the lead on some things. As board members, I really want you to spend some time in the next couple of months reviewing the areas of the strategic plan that you feel, this is something we've done really well as a district. And here's where I think we should consider going. When we review the strategic plan, we will include stakeholders from students to staff to community members. And so as a board, I think it's really important for you to have a really thorough understanding of the strategic plan as it sits today, as we work on the development in the future. So there's not a ton of changes in here. And really my intent in putting it on was not to dig deep into all of them, but just remind you as board members to do some digging into those. And as you're looking at them, and if you're seeing something and you're like, I don't remember what that is, can we have a conversation about that? Let me know, okay? Because I can put it on as a work session, and if there are specific questions that you have, for instance, create regularly scheduled capstone projects, that's not something that we've had extensive conversation about administratively or within the student body. So that's kind of one of those areas where, is that something that we would continue to want to stay focused on? Because as you'll see in November, I had identified that foundational work needs to take place on this sub goal if it's going to continue, right? So that's just some of the work that I'm going to ask you as board members to think about, and then we can revisit it later on. But that's why I have it just here at this moment in time.
Homework.
Okay. And then student enrollment review. So let me pull this up and cast this. So it's been a little bit since we've done an enrollment snapshot. I'm going to make it even a little bit bigger so that if anybody's hopped on, they can see it. So again, just the color variations so that you remember a red means we lost a student, a green means we gained a student, so you can kind of see our overarching numbers. The gobbledygook on the right-hand side really is not gobbledygook. It's the calculations that weight our students for our funding. So this document is really part of our budgeting process. And it's, so that's why we keep all that information in there so that we are able to see our most heavily weighted students and our less weighted students. Not that it doesn't matter, they all do. It's just a matter of, from a funding perspective, you can kind of see where that sits, okay? Something that's really exciting for us is we are having earlier conversations about kindergarten. We sent over 100 letters to kindergarten eligible families. That's a big number. Now, do I think all those families are gonna come? Absolutely not. But do I think we have to be prepared and be able to respond? Absolutely. So the elementary has done a really nice job getting in front of that this year, sending out preliminary surveys. They have their kindergarten, I'm sure in February, Cassie will talk about that, but their key night is in March to have registration and open house and all of those things. But it's just something that we certainly want to be watching, because if you remember, we changed some sections this year. We have 3 sections of kindergarten and moved 4 sections of first graders because we had some big bubbles in there. So we're going to want to have some early conversation about that to make sure that we're prepared and we're ready. Okay, so it's exciting. It's a really exciting place to be with our kindergarten numbers. So I'm excited to share that with you. So that's what I have for my administrative report, and then I would go back to you for committees.
Any committee or organizational reports? There might have been one, I think.
There was
West
community
Central Ed.
ed, but I wasn't able to make it.
Yeah, we-
City Ed advisory met.
You and I?
Yeah, right, yeah. So we did that, and I think it went very well. That was the first time I had sat in on one of those meetings. What I really felt was exciting was just all the teachers, that staff side, I think, is involved in it, especially what was going on as far as upcoming events within the community, and the key role that teachers do play and how they look at students. So that I thought was very exciting. I know there was a meeting that we had with Cassie. Some of us, we sat down, we took a look at where they're at with the numbers with that.
The School of Excellence.
Yeah, exactly, correct, yeah, we have taken a look at that data, so I don't know if you have anything to share on that, Bruce, as far as.
And that's really not a formal committee.
No, right,
But,
yeah.
yeah.
So. But, yeah, and then the West Central District, I don't know if I mentioned that, from the first school board meeting. I guess that took place after, the week after. And, so that has, we were moving forward with the West Central Ed District, to get the, positions filled that we needed. So there is a clerk chair and, our, vice chair. Those positions have been filled. Again, just tremendous help from the, superintendents that are involved in that, but then also tremendous help from the folks that run community as far as the director and where they're moving forward. One of the things I guess I pay particular attention to that really helps out this community is where they're at with the sale house and how they're moving forward with that. There is some employment opportunities with West Central Ed. And so if there's anybody out there that is interested, just go to their website. They'll see what the employment opportunities are.
Great.
I guess it was mentioned there was the community ed, one, there was some good talk about some of their, ECFE offerings, and maybe not fully, fleshed out yet, but some potential plans for the future that I think are promising on those. Also sounded like they had very good attendance on their classes so far, so they're looking at potentially even expanding on some of those offerings, and sounded pretty promising.
Anything else? All right, move on to student representative.
Hi, for NHS, we're helping out with like the elementary school, doing some like fun activities with the kids, and then working on the middle school spelling bee. For student council, we're working on the semi-formal dance on February 8th, and pre-sales are going on during a lunch. For the dance being $6 for pre-sale and going in it's $8. And SAD, they're helping at the elementary school, also doing some fun activities with the kids, prepping to help with the DARE graduation. And for FFA, they're in the midst of the competition time. They'll be hosting close to 100 students here on February 28th for 3 contests. This is FFA's first time being in a site for many teams competing. There was bowling at Cronus Lanes. It was kind of like a meeting, but it was more of like a fun time because it's January. So it's like a bunch of meeting. They're like meetings for their teams. So we just kind of like threw a bowling thing in it, and we just did that. And then there was Region Fun Night for Region 3. There was 4 members that attended. And for fruit sales, the FFA did meet their goal, which last year we didn't, and this year we did. So that was awesome. Students are also applying for their degrees and other awards. And next February 17th to the 21st is FFA week.
Thank you. Move on to old business, second reading and approval of policies. Recommendation to approve the policies outlined.
I
So
mean,
moved.
go ahead, Bruce.
So moved.
Motion by Bruce,
And I second.
seconded by Gerald. Roll call vote.
Bruce,
Aye.
Thomas,
Aye.
Rachel,
Aye.
Gerald,
Aye.
Jacob,
Aye.
Ron.
Aye.
Motion passes. Move on to new business. Budget reduction resolution action.
So this item is really a standing agenda item. It really begins the budgeting process. I talked a little bit about our student enrollment and our projections in kindergarten. I really don't envision having to make programmatic reductions. However, as a standing item, it really does begin the budgeting process, and it really does prompt us as administration to review programs and make sure that we are continuing in alignment with fiscal responsibility. So that's why this is a standing item, but it really does begin the budgeting process.
I'll make a motion to approve.
By Bruce,
Second.
second by Thomas.
Can we have a moment for discussion?
Yep.
I don't like budget reduction. I would like it better if it said budget analysis,
Sure.
because we don't know exactly what we're actually entering into it. And I see it every year. It just irritates me because it's like, okay, you just can't reduce everywhere all the time.
Correct.
But in our case, we might not be able to because you have other things, but.
Yeah.
And we have to have it for the state, I'm sure.
Well, and the board could just decide not to adopt the resolution. I mean, you really could. You could say, you know what, we want you to look at the budget, but we're making a commitment right now that we're not going to be reducing. The difficult part is that if we would find we need to and we've not made the call for reductions.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we have
so-
to do it. It's just,
It does, I agree.
I think it's,
I
you know,
agree.
when
I
we're
don't like the
talking, and
language.
it's not really a positive.
I know.
Specifically, even if we pass, it doesn't mean we're.
That is correct. That is correct.
Roll call vote.
Bruce,
Aye.
Thomas,
Aye.
Rachel,
Aye.
Gerald,
Aye.
Jacob,
Aye.
Ron.
Aye.
Motion passes. Paraprofessional appreciation.
Yes. So the week of January 20th through the 26th was Paraprofessional Recognition Week. You know, I often sit here and I share that as a former special education director, I just have I don't have a different appreciation, because I think superintendents who would sit next to me would say, don't say that, because that doesn't mean I don't appreciate them. But as a former special ed teacher and a former special ed director, there's just a really strong acknowledgement from where I sit, recognizing the work of our paraprofessionals. I know our teachers feel the stress when they're not there. Our students can feel lost when they're not there. And it's just such a difficult position to fill, because the roles that they hold are really unique and challenging. And so I do want to just take a second to say thank you and appreciate our paraprofessionals. I'm going to put up, I should have done this while I was talking, because then people on the screen that are watching could see our paraprofessionals. We have a number of paraprofessionals who have supported our district for a number of years. And we are grateful not only for the knowledge and the wealth, but the longevity of our paraprofessionals. So just a thank you to the paras of our school district.
Move on to pay equity report.
Annually, every 3 years, sorry. And it's January 31st that the pay equity report is due every 3 years. So you will see the implementation report and the job classifications for all of our employees. We did, so if you remember, we are working through a pay equity study that's evaluating not only our job descriptions, but also the alignment across to ensure that across the organization, we have an even distribution of benefits and all of those components. So there were a couple of areas that we did have to look at. One is our new technology coordinator position. We didn't have that job description. We also have a transition of our business manager from the associate business manager transitioning to full-time business manager next year. That was a position change. So there are a couple of unique pieces, but I would be looking for approval of the pay equity report to be submitted by January 31st.
I made a motion.
Motion by Thomas,
I second.
second by Gerald. Roll call vote.
Bruce,
Aye.
Thomas.
Aye.
Rachel.
Aye.
Gerald,
Aye.
Jacob,
Aye.
Ron.
Aye.
Motion passes. Review of the Municipal School Board Association Conference. Open for discussion.
I sat in on one of the roundtable meetings and it was talking about how the Minnesota Department of Employment, school side of it, how they track after a person graduates from school, and various things as far as getting further education or whether they go into the workforce. Some things that they do lose track on if you go into a government position. So somebody goes into the military, they lose track of what's going on with them there. But I thought that was very interesting. Fortunately, it's very hard to hear all of it, but just how much data is out there so we can track to find out, how many students from X year, where are they at now in a sense, and to really meet that barometer as far as how well this school district is doing, as far as continued education with students, and then and where they're going. So I thought that was very interesting of listening to that.
I sat in on a couple of AI meetings out of curiosity, and out of all of it, the one that stuck most, the more I think about it, was the cybersecurity part of it. Because, I've listened to some other stuff and I've read some since, but we're looking for AI to do analysis. And lots of it's positive if we're working into medical or trying to help a student. All that's really positive, but there's another side to it that it could help bad crooks become good crooks. And you might go to AI and find out that, hey, we think it's got this firewall. What does it take to break through that firewall? Pretty quick, we can lose data. It was conducted by an insurance company. And in honesty, he was scrambling himself, not knowing exactly what you need to do, but you gotta stay up with it. There was some discussion about AI being one of those entities when you are heading into AI that can't come back and get in your system because you're going there to make sure the security protocols are in place going out and coming back in. Sometimes we're out there Googling around or whatever. Now it's going to be AI around, right? But those can come back at you. So it's got a lot of positive things. And then I think that was probably the most interesting. And then we attended the last meeting they had. And honestly, I'm gonna be honest, I usually didn't stay for much of those because they were poor. And I saw, you shouldn't stereotype anybody, but I saw the guy and he got a crooked hat on top of his head and all that. And I thought, oh, this will be interesting. Man, we were glued to our seats. And what he was a guy that turned around schools. And he's being told by everybody that you can't turn around the schools. But his full concentration was doing what he can for those students and absolutely believing that nobody in his school district couldn't achieve. They could get their goals. They could achieve. And they were a failing school looking at being closed, turned the whole thing around, and they were scoring high in 5 years on scholastics sports. Turn the sports around. but it was just the belief to get to the kids that they honestly believe they have the ability to learn and to pick it up. It was absolutely fascinating.
Awesome.
Yeah, what I liked about that, he was very, I mean, he knew his students. He was out there. And that was something that he pushed the teachers. And I think our school, as small as it is, and it doesn't matter small, large, or whatever, I believe our teachers are that same way, where they have a contact with each student that they have. He knew the strengths, weaknesses of each of those students. And then he did talk about the time that he just said something to a student, not knowing what was going on and as far as that student's life at that time. And it wasn't until a few years later that he received a letter back from that student mentioning, this is what you said to me on that day. It was like the worst day of her life. And it was really powerful, Bruce. I really liked that. Yep.
The school he had was our size. It wasn't like you're looking at something we couldn't see. Their town had some industry leave. They had the issues of a town that had some troubles. And honestly, it was, he had, instead of being in his office, he had a rolling desk and he rolled it around in the hallway. And every time the bell rang and the kids were going class to class, he was out there greeting all these kids. And it didn't take long. He knew everybody there. And it was just, and honestly, I've been to those for all these years. Most of them, I forget my toothpicks to keep my eyes open. This one was outstanding.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I went to the data one too. I know we've talked about sleds in our meeting before. I know we've talked about a lot of that data gathering, but I think it was just interesting to hear a lot of those details, and not to repeat everything you said as well, but hear all the details of how they collect the data and where that data is and how long they collect the data, how far. I mean, just like there's a lot more to it than I really realized. Like I think they have it available for the general public. I mean, it's just not like it's some secret superintendent, super cool board data.
Right.
This is out there available for everybody. So so really cool. And then a couple of other ones I just brought some of the literature that I sat through with the board role and student achievement. Really talking about a lot of this. And I think a lot of that I felt like, well, I'm not that we're perfect at or we do a lot of, but we as a board, us, our administration that we have really lean in and give us a lot of this information. I feel we're meeting a lot of these things and yet still have some room to grow. And the other one was the strategic planning. And I know it's something that we have a good strategic plan. We made it 6 years ago, but that's kind of the lifespan of a strategic plan. So I think it's high time that we, do have some conversations about what that looks like in the future. And in listening to them speak, it's not even something I feel like Gail saying that we need to go through and make this massive overhaul. Like we're going to throw this away and start all over again, but relive where are we at with it? Where's the community at with what we have, and what adjustments do we see in the future? Because it's something important. But I don't know. This is my 6th time because we had a COVID year in there. 6th time going to it. And I feel like a lot of meetings sometimes are the same. I kind of end up in some similar workshops. But what I love about it is that it's always a different crowd, and there's always different conversation. There's always different questions, and so you usually pull a little bit something different out of each time you go. And then when they do have new workshops, stuff I do love attending different ones. So
Just real quick back to your point about getting ready for the strategic plan and starting to take a look at that and using that data as far as where students go from here, because I think that is very, very powerful to take a look at where our classes are at, and I don't want to say what's working, what isn't working, because then we start taking a look at negatives. I think we're really as we look at those things, if we get that data to have that understanding of where can we enhance a particular class for a career that's out there. So start taking a look at those positive sides of things. So. And then I just have one last comment. I did have a chance to talk to Troy Miller, a former student, classmate of mine, and he did, with the work that he's doing here helping out, he did say that Ken Ostendorf is just really doing a phenomenal job. He enjoys working with him, as far as the project that they are working on. And
Ken's blushing over there.
Yep.
notice I'm not looking at it. Because I know if I did, he'd start tearing up. But anyway, so Troy is very, very happy with who we have picked, or who's been hired as far as the facilities manager for this place.
Right person sitting in the right chair.
Yep.
Mhm.
Agreed. I went to quite a few after missing last year due to illness. It's kind of not really new to me, but kind of more information to me. One that kind of stuck with me was I attended a workshop on the superintendent evaluation. So Janelle and I actually both attended that one, and we're kind of process it and kind of work towards it, and more to come on that later on, more discussions, possible changes, see about that. And I also think too is in the opening session, I really kind of saw eye to eye with the speaker and his kind of overall statement. Like his keep on going phrase to me that's what we do, is we keep on going. So
Out into the woods.
Yes.
To practice your saxophone. Because I don't want to hear it squeak. Keep on going. Keep on going.
so
First 2 days I was attending the mandated training, which was interesting to hear that school board members are the only elected officials who are required to attend training. But so they crammed as much info in my head as they could those days. But on the other 2 days during the actual conference, they can kind of condense the things I attended down to two things. So the first was the State High School League, which they went through a lot of information. They're really pushing to get more school board involvement in the league in general, including a couple interesting ideas like meeting with the AD regularly, or even having them come present at board meetings from time to time, which I thought was possibly a good idea to at least see what everyone thinks about on that one. Then there's a few more sports specific things like guardian caps or wet bulb gauges and just things that are coming through the pipelines and stuff. And they didn't, just one thing that they said that kind of stuck with me that I thought was kind of a cool line was, and the athletics and arts might not be the most important thing in a school, but it might be the thing that keeps kids present and engaged until they realize what the important things are in school. So, sometimes people think that sometimes sports are extra, but it's a good thing to keep around. The other ones boil down to more just building trust in the community and communication with them. One in particular was the Bold School District about their levy process. A few years ago, they had a levy that failed by 81%, and they managed to turn it around. And in the last year, they got us, what did I put? It was like 60% yes on the recent one, and kind of boils down to just transparency and making sure you're getting the community involved from the get-go and not just telling them this and just hoping they're on board. And then also getting the people who are going to do your communicating involved from the beginning. So like if you're going to have your principals or an athletic director or a certain subset of people, they need to be included from the beginning rather than told, hey, can you do this? That was one thing that the Bold superintendent mentioned that they had issues with was getting teacher buy-in during their levy that passed was because they want a new building. And they were told a new building from the get-go, but that wasn't the one that was going to pass. So the superintendent had to do a lot of the work himself because the teachers were not really bought in on that. So it's just, and then also all the events kind of talked about just making sure you're confirming your communication channels before you start using it rather than blasting all this info out into the void that nobody's going to read. You should probably make sure people are reading it before you put the important stuff out.
Ron, do you have anything to add?
No, you guys pretty much said a lot. Quite a illuminating experience, I guess. some words I had, and I guess there were some instances were pretty breathtaking. So, yeah, good experience for somebody to be on the board and maintain positivity and stay away from anything negative. So, no, it was good.
Can I add one more thing?
Yep, sure.
Okay, so I left this in my case, I remember. So every year I go down to this, I get a chance to talk to the union people down there. This, it's been the contractors union and some of the rest of them. This year it was the carpenters union. Those people will send people out to talk to a group of kids, to attend a tech class or whatever, and just give them the opportunities of things where maybe they don't go on to a tech school. Maybe they don't go on to a 4-year school. Statistically, it bothers me a little bit when I start looking at the dropout numbers for freshmen in 4-year schools. How come that hasn't changed much since I was a kid? Makes no sense to me. But it does tell me that I think a lot of our job is the opportunity for the kids. And have we got enough through to these kids or these students that when that 1 year away from home and all that, and if it doesn't work out and they want another career path, how do we get them there? Or what knowledge did we give them? But I think these people would do it. There's the construction union, there's the carpenters union. Most of these people, the construction union, I know for sure, is wondering who's gonna build skyscrapers 10 years from now.
Right.
They have a huge gap in employment. And last year, they would bring people in. They just had to be able to be on work at time, and they had to not have extracurricular intake items on their body or in their blood system. And they did fine. And then what they would do is a couple nights a week, they would put them to school. So they would study for 2-3 hours, a couple days a week on construction and techniques, have architects talking to them to try and get these kids up to snuff. But when I talk to these guys, the carpenters union, the hardest thing for them is to be able to talk to the schools.
Yeah.
But just like to a degree becomes a dead issue.
Interesting.
Yeah, and most of them are just willing to come out. And they don't care who they are or what their background is. If they're interested and they can get to work on time and come properly, their game.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Anything?
Nope. Move on to review upcoming meeting schedules.
Looks good to me. Those are my 2 meetings.
So, Dan,
I make motion we adjourn.
Second.
roll call vote.
Bruce,
Aye.
Thomas,
Aye.
Rachel,
Aye.
Cheryl,
Aye.
Jacob,
Aye.
Ron.
Aye.
Motion is carried. We are adjourned.
Is the roll call votes everywhere coming from your meetings?
So,
Yeah, virtual.